Hey, Yellow Team. Hope you're having a great day. Saying hi to Mrs. Montano's kids too. Me and Mrs. Montano still working together even if we're remotely. So this is sort of where we are. You guys were learning about enzymes yesterday, and the idea behind it is that enzymes are substances that will help break big molecules into smaller ones, and some of the foods that we eat just are big molecules. And so in order to really be able to liquefy them and get them into our bloodstream, we need to be able to break them down into smaller molecules. Starch is the example that we've been using. And so first of all, you've learned a little bit about starch being a chain of sugars. That being said, that when we put them in our mouths, we can begin to break those chains of sugars apart from each other. And that's why it began to taste sweeter. Why do we need to do that was demonstrated by Dr. Seemore at first, showing that starch really doesn't dissolve in water. However, sugars do. And so as long as we can get those sugars into our bloodstream, then we'll be able to get them out to our cells. And so we learned a little bit about where this begins, and that starch to sugar breakdown actually begins in our mouth. You also learned the name of an enzyme, and that enzyme is called amylase, and that is what is in our saliva that starts that starchy to sugary taste. Can sugar dissolve into our bloodstream? I'm hoping by now you've gathered absolutely, and that's the whole point of digesting the starch. And so we're going to start today with jumping back to Dr. Seemore. She'll be with us one or two more times to show us the next step in what an enzyme can do in the case of starch. So, see you back in a minute.
Well, you're back again, are you? All right, well, I guess Mrs. Seemore sent you back to get a little bit more. So, all right, let's get right to it. I bet you learned a little bit about amylase recently, haven't you? Well, today, we're going to show you a little bit of that, kind of combining the last two demonstrations into one. So first, we're going to start with some starch water. We're going to see if we can turn that starch water into sugar water. We're going to test that with Benedict's. So let's get started. All right? All right, right here, what I have is a test tube full of amylase. It looks a little bit like spit, but it's kind of darker. This was made from a powder from here that I mix with water. Did anybody spit to get this? No. This is extracted from bacteria and turned into a powder. All right, so that's the source of our amylase. So let's start back at the beginning. We had put iodine in the bottom of our test tube. Where is my iodine? Hang on a minute. And magically it appears. All right, so let's start again by putting a little bit of iodine in the bottom of one test tube. All right. Let us also add a little bit of water to dilute it just a little bit. All right, so now you see that nice amber color. We'll put another funnel in. Ooh, do do do, do 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 do. Let's make another cone. I bet you guys would have liked to play with this, but perhaps when you get back we can. Add a little bit of water. Hold her down. There we go. Oh, no, sit, sit, sit. There we go. Very good. So, the next thing we have to do, just like we did before, was make a little bit of starchy water. So let's do that. A little bit of water. Boom. Let's get a little bit of starch. I need to move faster. Don't want you to get bored. Here, right, here's a little bit of starch. Here we go, a little bit more. On to stir it up. All right. So, let's put it in. All right. So, as this drains through, we're still proving that the starch isn't getting in down here. The next thing that I'm going to do is take some of what's draining in here and also add it into here. All right. You remember this is the Benedict solution. Benedict solution shows the presence of sugar. So, let me now show that no starch has passed through to the test tube. So let's bring it over next. The starch is still in the funnel. Let's see if we can turn any of it into sugar. By pouring a little bit of amylase in here, perhaps what we will find is we can turn some of the starch into sugar while it's still in the funnel, therefore liquefying, dripping through the filter paper, and then thusly landing in the bottom down here, which we will then transfer to the hot water bath to see whether or not it has sugar. So, let's turn our starch water into sugar water using amylase if we can. All right, let's pour some in. It smells rather stinky. Give it a tiny bit of a stir. Tiny bit. All right. We're going to let that drain for a moment. And if all goes well, when we put this in there, we will prove that we have made sugar from starch. And, more importantly, that it is able to pass through a membrane and be in a liquefied form that can travel out to our body's cells. All right. Well, that was a fun break. Well, I think I need to make this come to an end because my test tube is filling up. So, let's transfer this funnel to this side. Let's let the Benedicts come in contact with the water that has drained. And then we will put it back in. I wanted to make sure the Benedicts was in contact with what had drained through the filter paper. So let's add that in and see what happens. Again, it's another game of waiting. Well, 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 what do we have here? Looks like we've got some evidence again. Our Benedict solution has turned from blue to this orangey, let me see through my sunglasses, kind of like orange juice color. Well, look at that, except for at the very bottom. That was the original water. It didn't have any of the sugar in it. Didn't mix all the way, maybe. Maybe that's the issue. But look, all that evidence of sugar right here in front of you. So, with this demonstration, do you know what we've proven? I hope you do. We have proven that we have an enzyme called, you've got it, amylase. Amylase is an enzyme that can turn starches into sugars. Why do we want that to happen? Very good, I heard that. Okay, we need that to happen so that we could absorb the nutrients in the form of sugar into our bloodstream and send it off to our cells so that they can survive and have everything that they need to do a life that makes them productive. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm going to send it back to Mrs. Seemore. Whew. Whew. Get these butterflies out of here. Out, 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 shoo, shoo, shoo.
Thank you so much, Dr. Silas. Exactly the point. The idea that we can turn starch into sugar using an enzyme like amylase is key to our ability to be able to use the nutrients that are in our foods. So you guys at this point, what I want you to do is follow along into the next activity, and then from there finish up your day with a Google form. So if you have any questions, you know you can email us and we'll be available for you during class time. So see you guys. Bye-bye.